These are the 4 stories that I will never forget. All of them happened in quiet towns, the kinds of places you would never expect to feel unsafe in. But sometimes, the real horror is not from ghosts or monsters. It's from the people who are already around you. The ones you see every day, the ones you trust. And yet, in the shadows, they can be far more terrifying than anything you have ever imagined. Tonight, I'm going to tell you exactly what happened, so sit back, turn off the lights if you dare, and listen closely. Because once you hear these stories, you may never look at the world the same way again. I'll never forget the first week in my new house. I moved into my first house when I was 26. It was a small, 2-bedroom place tucked away in a quiet Pennsylvania neighborhood, the kind of area where everyone knew each other, neighbors waved as you passed, and the streets were always silent after dark. The house itself was older, creaky, and had a character that drew me in at first glance, but even as I unpacked, I couldn't shake the feeling that it was watching me. There was one odd feature I noticed immediately, a hatch in the hallway closet hidden behind old coats and boxes. I asked the realtor about it. She smiled, said it was just a crawl space, nothing to worry about, but her eyes shifted quickly, and there was a hesitation in her voice that I didn't like. The hatch was heavy, rusty, with a stiff latch that seemed like it hadn't been opened in decades. Curiosity got the better of me, so I lifted it once. The space inside was dark, dirt floor, wooden beams, cobwebs everywhere. It smelled damp and cold, but there was nothing living in there, or so I thought. The first few nights were quiet, almost too quiet. I told myself, it was the perfect house. I was happy. I could finally relax. But on the 4th night, at exactly 3:02 a.m., I woke to a scratching sound. Faint at first, coming from the closet. I froze. My heart was hammering. It sounded deliberate. Someone, or something, was inside. I told myself it was, mice. Old houses get mice, right? But the scratching stopped as soon as I opened the closet. Silence. An unnatural silence. The kind that presses against your ears and makes every small sound unbearable. I closed the door and tried to sleep, but every night after that it returned. Same time. Same place. Scratching, whispering, small movements in the shadows, always just out of reach. Then, on the 7th night, it escalated. I woke again. Scratching, yes, but followed by something worse, a whisper. Faint, hoarse, words I couldn't make out. And then, 3 loud knocks shook the floor beneath my bed. Slow, deliberate, rhythmic. I forced myself out of bed, light trembling in my hand, and checked the closet. The hatch was shut, but the latch was now on the inside. Impossible. I hadn't moved it. No one else had a key. The next morning, I called a friend, someone who believes in nothing but logic, to check the crawlspace with me. Flashlight down into the darkness. At first, nothing. Dust motes floating in the beam, and then, in the far corner, a sleeping bag. Slightly crumpled. A soda can next to it. I froze. Someone had been living there, recently. I could tell by the faint odor, slightly sour. The police came. They found nothing. Said it was probably old belongings left behind. But I knew better. I nailed the hatch shut. Tried to sleep that night, but at 3:12 a.m., I woke to the sound of nails being pried out, slowly. One by one. I ran. Didn't wait to see what came out. Grabbed my keys. Drove aimlessly until dawn. When I returned later, the closet door was wide open, the hatch ajar, and on the floor, a handwritten note. Why did you lock me in? Months passed. I moved into a small apartment, hoping to escape the house and the nightmare. But the feeling of being watched followed me. Subtle at first, a sense of eyes in the dark. Shadows seeming to move on their own. Then, one night, my downstairs neighbor knocked on my door. Nervous. Middle-aged. Sweat on his brow. Asking if I had been hearing strange noises at night. I said no. He left quickly. And the next night, At 2:58 a.m., my dog growled at the corner of the room, fixed on the heating vent. Faint tapping. Tap, 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 a rhythm that sent chills down my spine. Leaning closer, I heard breathing. Deep. Deliberate. A faint whisper of words I couldn't understand. The next morning, the neighbor looked worse. Pale. Exhausted. Sleepless. He told me he had been hearing someone whispering his name through the vents. Scratching. Someone, or something, moving through the pipes. We went to the basement together, a tangle of pipes and ducts. In the far corner, a small crawlspace door. When we opened it, a rotting smell hit immediately. Walls scratched hundreds of times over. Words carved repeatedly. "Let me out! Why did you leave me? Stop moving!" I shivered. Moved out within a week. But the neighbor stayed. A month later, he went missing. Police never found him. And the apartment remained empty for weeks, until new tenants reported the same noises. Whispers, scratching, footsteps, always at exactly 3 a.m. Always. 2 years later, I was on a road trip through upstate New York. Stopped at a cheap roadside motel. Rooms smelled of mildew, damp carpet, fluorescent lights flickering. The air heavy. At 3 a.m., I woke to laughter. Soft at first, growing louder, coming from under the bed. Flashlight trembling in my hand, I crouched to look, nothing. But then, the vent cover on the wall caught my eye. Loose. I pulled it off. Behind it wasn't a vent. It was a hole. A crawlspace. And deep inside, 2 glowing eyes stared back. Pale. Unblinking. I screamed, ran to the door, slammed it, turning the key. But before leaving, I saw a pale hand reaching from the hole. And around it, scratched into the wall, words. "I found you." I left that motel immediately. Drove all night. Images, scratches, whispers stayed with me. A constant reminder that crawlspaces exist everywhere. In homes, apartments, motels, hidden, dark spaces. And you never really know who, or what, is waiting. Waiting for someone to open the hatch, to make the mistake of looking inside. Since then, I never look under beds. Never check closets at night. But, I can't sleep without imagining scratches in the wood, whispers in the vents, and eyes watching me from the darkness. The feeling never leaves. And every time I drive past an old house, or see a vent slightly loose, or hear the faint scratching of nails on wood, I remember, crawlspaces exist. And sometimes, the things that live inside them, find you. Check new stories on the channel. Hit that like button and subscribe to AI Storytelling YTS for more videos.